Hey everyone, and welcome to the Babylon Chronicles, a podcast dedicated to taking a look at the inner workings, discussions, and shenanigans involved with making one of the world's most powerful, beautiful, simple, and open web rendering engines, Babylon.js. My name is Jason Carter, also known as Pirate JC, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Mr. David Katui. Hi, David.
Hey, I'm always impressed by your diction, like the smoothness, like beautiful.
It just kind of flows out. Okay. We have a special guest today, David.
Oh yeah, we do. Hi, Thomas.
We tend to have special guests, but today is a special guest.
It's probably one initial question that was not on our doc.
Yeah.
Do you have like for it's Pirate JC, it's Delta Koch? Do we have something for Thomas, or is it just Thomas?
It's Tom Luck. It's Tom Luck.
Just Tom Luck. Okay, you're alias at Microsoft.
Yes, very simple.
Tom Luck. That's it.
Tom Luck.
Most people who have engaged in the Babylon community, whether that be an enterprise partner or a community member, has had an opportunity to engage with Mr. Thomas Lucchini. Thomas, thanks for being on the podcast. You have a super, super important role on the team, and we're super pumped to talk about it.
Right?
Very unique. Very, very unique. So for a tiny bit of context, let's keep in mind the product of Babylon.js is a developer platform. It is not a UI. It is not a traditional product like a PowerPoint or Apple iTunes or something like that. It is a JavaScript API.
It's an SDK, right?
It's an SDK. So to that end, Thomas, why don't you tell everybody what is your unique role on the team?
So I'm the product manager of this product, right? Of this
SDK manager. SDK manager.
So that makes the role very special because the users of this product are developers. And when usually a PM is the one helping, deciding, driving the features, because he's supposed to talk to the users, which the developer are not always doing. In this case, the people building the platform know even better than me what should be built because they are targeting developers. So I guess we talk a little bit about this later, but that makes the role very special. I'm here to make things easy for the team, right? Bringing a little bit of structure as the team keeps growing. I'm here to ensuring we don't forget anything, listening to the different signals from the partners, from the ecosystem. And I'm doing something that is maybe a little more classic, which is also the communicating on the product, like being present outside. I was doing a conference in USC here last time, so things like this, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
Why the heck, and I say the heck because it's a record, but I would say something else. Why the heck do your English accent is so better than mine?
I came younger. It's all about age, man. And my
it's all about
daughter
age. I appreciate
that. She came here at 5. I think your daughter too. She's correcting you, right?
Oh my God.
Hey, not to brag or anything, but my English accent's pretty good too.
Yeah, that's true. Just I forgot about you every time. Man, your English accent is so good. And it's all about age, right? Because you started at 0, right? That's right. Literally.
Right. Exactly. So Thomas is being humble about his role. He's being incredibly humble because he does so much more, which we're going to get into in a minute. But before we do, I actually think it's kind of interesting how you chose to join the team. So I'll walk us back in time just a little bit to say, at one point in time, Babylon was, 5 people or so. And essentially what we did is we thought that there were cool industry trends that were happening. And we also listened to what customers were, I say customers, Babylon community members, all the way up to big enterprise companies using Babylon for web experiences, everybody, what they were asking for. And we took those two things and we said, let's add this to Babylon. Oh, somebody asked for this. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, this cool thing is happening in the industry. Let's add that as well. And we got to this point where we realized Babylon has grown. We're going to need somebody to come in and actually think strategically about how we grow it even further. Right? Yeah, for sure. And your story, Thomas, of how you kind of joined the team was pretty interesting because you scratched the surface of some 3D earlier in your days, not knowing that you would eventually come back and work on a 3D rendering engine. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So maybe, it makes me old. Like 15 years ago, I was in this role where the goal was to promote computer science to students, having more people going to computer science. And the problem there is very often it's taught in the classes is through math, and it doesn't work for everybody, right? It's not very exciting. So we decided to do like a little game. So you'd have some algorithm fighting against other algorithm, and to embody those algorithms, we said, oh, let's do little characters. And to make those characters even better, we said, oh, let's do character in 3D. And when we said it's like the team, right? I was just there in the team, but there was, great developer building this. And so, who are we going to use for 3D? And Richard, at the time, had a great idea. Said, oh, there's this guy. He's very good. He won a student contest. Let's use him to build this thing. So he reached out. We worked with him, and he built some amazing, not just assets, but rendering. And that's it. And then 15 years passed. And then I joined the team, and then I just look in the forum, understand the market, and say, oh, Aras P, I know this guy. Oh, he was one of the, I think, number 4 employee of Unity. So he was one of the creator of Unity. That's why he was good. That's why he was building some cool stuff. So just
Unity
to say,
is very much tied to our history, right?
see,
very
without
much.
knowing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that story. And I think the other thing too that's really, really remarkable is for a person who traditionally hasn't done a ton of 3D in their career, has brushed with it in the past, but not a ton. When you started talking to us about the team and we started thinking about needing to grow our strategy muscle and how we strategize about where and how we grow, and not just be a bit reactive, but be, thought through, you said, well, if I'm going to be in this world, I need to know something about 3D. And most people there would go, I'm going to go read some documentation or maybe watch a YouTube video, but not Thomas. Thomas decided to recreate his entire apartment in 3D and then create a game of killer Roomba robots chasing around in his apartment. And so you just came one day in an interview, I think, and said, yeah, I made this game with Babylon. And we were like, wait, what? So it was quite a fun experience to actually see that you're just like, yeah, I tried it out. Like,
yeah,
you built a game?
It was actually really fun because, I started as a developer, right? And then I went to the dark side of marketing and product management and things like this. But I always was, attracted in some way in coding, not as you guys who go really deep, right? But I like it. I just didn't have a lot of time. And then I say, oh, that's the occasion. I have time because it took a while for the position to open. So I say, oh, I have time. Let's learn. I started a Udemy course online, how to do code with Babylon, and it was old stuff, Babylon 3 something. But hey, backward compatibility.
Yeah, right.
Now I know
Still
it
working.
worked. It was working with the latest version of Babylon. And like those tutorials when you learn something and then there is always a moment where there's something that doesn't work. And because you're learning a new technology, you're like, oh man, it's slowing you down so much. Everything was working, even those old content. So that was really awesome. After this, I understood what that there was backward compatibility in there. That was pretty cool.
That's
Side
amazing.
note, I met with Thomas in France. We were colleagues before even Babylon.js was even created. He
was this
head
before or after Nova?
It was after Nova. I left when I joined Microsoft and I was an evangelist, an Internet Explorer evangelist. Thomas was the head of marketing of the evangelist team. So we knew each other already. We went to some cool party together.
Yes, we did.
Yes, well, that's amazing. That's
so the reason I built the game, Jason, is that I wanted really to learn, and I also just wanted to get this job because it was looking something like very unique. I started discovering the passion in this ecosystem, in the community. The more I was digging, the more I wanted this, right? So it was, double 2 birds in one stone, right? Yeah. Like learning and getting the job. Because Gary, when I did the first interview, I said, I can learn fast. He said, yeah, sure, yeah. It's like you always say this. Everybody say this. Yeah, sure, yeah. But then actually I learned. And then when I showed him the code, he liked it, but he went beyond. he
Did
went
he have
to
you
his
whiteboard?
PC and he showed me some code that I didn't wrote to see if I was not bullshitting, right? And then I could comment the code because I really did it. So it was detail
I didn't know
oriented.
that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
big hat to him for this.
That's so good. Gary, if you're listening, you're fired. No, I'm kidding.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite. He went to the detail.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. So let's set a little bit of foundation. I'd love to come back and talk more about who you are and what you do for the team, because it's so incredibly critical to our success and kind of what we do. And a huge part of us being able to offer this platform for free is because of some of the world that you do. So just a quick bit of context. We've talked about this earlier in episodes, but the dev team is employed by Microsoft. Babylon.js, though, is a completely open source product and available and owned by the greater world and community. The reason that Microsoft invests our resources, our salaries into developing this platform is for two reasons. One, for the goodwill of making sure that other developers around the world can use the GPU on the web more easily. That's one. But the other one, it's not completely altruistic. It's also because they can benefit. The web apps at Microsoft can benefit from this acceleration. And most people don't really have a full glimpse of just how widely Babylon is used inside of Microsoft. It's used so much that it requires a person to manage a portfolio of partnerships with different products across the company. And I know we can't talk about all of them, but Thomas, why don't you talk a little bit about what it's like to just build a pipeline of new partners and manage existing ones and build relationship and all the things that you do that's so critical to keeping this thing funded.
Yes. So yeah, one big side of my role is to look at this call them first party partners, right? And I can talk about a few of them just to make things concrete and real. Of course, there is 3D. So in OneDrive, when you want to view an object, you can preview GLTF file, for instance. It's going to be run by Babylon. So that's OneDrive. In xCloud, the streaming service of Xbox.
Streaming games.
Yeah, streaming game on your mobile. When you're on your mobile, little joystick. So it's not 3D, it's 2D in this case. It's a rendering of the joystick.
3D, but the Z is 0. But it's always 3D, right?
It's true. Yeah, it's always the engine, right?
Yes.
And so this joystick and the video stream of the game, all this is composed using Babylon. And some other stuff in Teams also, the reactions, when there are like 200 people in a meeting and we see the little hearts and thumbs up and things like this. This needs to be WebGL, right? Because otherwise the performance, so this for one SVG is enough, right? But when you're gonna have 500 and then you're gonna need WebGL, and then we work with them because we are a layer on top of WebGL, right? We're making it easy to access, to tap into the power of the GPU.
PowerPoint is another excellent example, right? The rendering of PowerPoint on the web.
Yes, PowerPoint on the web. I mean, there are, I think, 57 features that are powered by Babylon. Sometimes it's one component we use in multiple products, but overall, we're talking about 57 features, and this represents about 130 million MAU, just to have an idea.
Mostly active users, right?
Yeah. For non-Microsoft speakers. So just so that I repeat that with clarity. So because of the fact that Babylon is used across the company in both 2D scenarios with compositing and rendering of 2D assets, plus 3D scenarios, we're actually looking at spinning in 3D. Because of that, because it's used in all these different products, 130 million people every month have an experience that has benefited in some way from the advancement of this rendering engine. Yeah. And that is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And this is helping us finding edge cases, right? On this device, on this configuration, there is this edge case, right? It helps us harden the platform also. As we built, Gary talked about Babylon native, but then because the platform is more new and is across, bunch of technologies, there are many complex edge cases and bugs to fix. So yeah, it's helping us a lot, finding new features, useful feature, and also hardening the platform. And so it's pretty, it's pretty fun, and it's taking a big chunk of my time to meet with them, understand what they want to do, stay in touch. When then, usually we have to show them because they don't know. We have to convince them at the beginning, and there's this trust that needs to be built, like every relationship. And then once we have this, then we can help them building new things, right? And sometimes they reach out. Sometimes we just keep this cadence to know what they're gonna build and how we can help them.
Yeah, and it's incredible. And again, I think you're being humble in how much you're saying it, but just making sure that the team and the development of Babylon is aligned with what other partner teams need, both inside of the company, and that's a huge part of what you do. And again, that's the funding that allows us to do this and give it away to the world for free. But you also do the exact same thing for huge partners and external companies, all the way down to the hobbyist on the forum. Everybody, you help facilitate their voices being heard and even managing relationships in some cases with some key partners across the world.
Yeah, that's one of the key role of the PM, right? It's to analyze, to gather all the different signals from whoever is using the product. So we talk about this internally. Then there are, we talk about some little game studios who use our tools, who say, oh, this is great, but this is, could be done differently. Some big, editor of tools also for 3D tools.
I like how you rotate around the name without saying the name.
Yes. We have brands. We have some brands we can, that were in our videos, so we can mention them, like Wayfair, like Target, that use, a lot of e-commerce. We also e-commerce growing. We also those 3D objects being more and more ubiquitous, right? So a lot of them in their configurator use Babylon.
The beauty of that is that whatever contribution whoever make, like let's say this top partner or PowerPoint, they contribute back to the engine, because we work in the open entirely, 100%, nothing is hidden. Like if PowerPoint find a new optimization, then it's gonna help the hobbyist creating his game, because we all work into one single repo, which is public.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. From this discussion to the code, like even when we talk to first party, so Microsoft, partners, outside partners, we'll always tell them, okay, when you have a question as you develop, ask on the forum. If it's not really private, just ask. And so there is this discussion that happens there. And then we can always have ad hoc things, right, if we need, but most of it comes from there. Even the big partners, these big brands, there's still developers, there are still developers doing, and sometimes we say, oh, hey, by the way, I just developed this. And then we see a great software that just come after 3 years of development. We just know the alias on the forum, and it's actually a big piece of software that comes out, right? Yeah.
And it's goodness, right? Because you can realize that you said that everyone is a developer, right? And everyone's one actually, it's not as late stage capitalism as we could see in some forum or some social networks, right? Like we can find people from extremely big brands happy to share their code, right? Yeah. And that will be contributed. They are not forced to. I mean, nothing for them to do that. It's pure willingness. And I can think about one internal partner that should soon be able to share a new feature in Babylon that will be benefit for everyone. And actually, no one forced that partner to do that, right? So I also appreciate the fact that good attract good.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note as well that like this living model of the utopia of open source, it takes effort to create, but when you build that trust, and this is not just the Babylon dev team, this is the Babylon community at large. Yeah. When you build a trust that everybody truly believes, yeah, we're going to win together. We're all going to combine efforts and win together. And the arbitrary walls of capitalism of the companies that we work for, while we respect them, we also look for opportunities of, can I share this with somebody else? And the one thing that I think is common, and Thomas, you probably hear this more than anyone, is how many times do we hear people saying, we just want to help 3D be bigger and have its moment. We just want to help people get there. We want 3D to be easier. We want 3D to be more consistent. We want it to be more approachable. Name the thing. And it's not just Microsoft. everyone is saying the same thing, and that's where this open source thing comes, is where people want to contribute back and say, let's win together. And there's truly some incredible contributions from some incredible companies outside of Microsoft, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think this is something very well, at least maybe it's not just 3D, but it's very present in 3D, is the passion.
A lot.
Compared to some other, part of the tech industry. Because, and I noticed this when I was getting this job 4 years ago, like, say, oh, wow, this is very cool. Like, people don't behave like in some other places. Like, overall, people love it and go beyond and go on the weekend because they like it. And I think now I understand it's because it's real, right? I mean, there is a real world, and we're trying to make this in 3D and in real time. So then, like, no, not anymore or less often, but when I was looking at a table or some object, I was trying to think, okay, so how do you do this? Which extension? How GLTF, right? Or like you're in your room and you say, oh, that's a nice lighting. How would we do this? This type of things, like it's very real. It's simple to explain, right? So, and then there is another side of 3D. It's animations, right? I mean, Jason, as I'm talking about, right? All these people doing these cartoons, this animation, of course, they're driven by passion, right? And emotions, right? So, and then the last one is what? Is gaming, again, like
of course, gaming
very
is a big
cool stuff, right? So it's people that love to do this. Who doesn't dream about, building a game and a thing like this? So I think the industry is still young. So it's like, not everything has to be done, but there's still a lot to be done, right? So it's a very cool place to be. I think I'll be here forever if I can in the team, in this field, for sure. It was by chance I bumped into this role, and it was one of the best things that happened to me. So it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. I love it. And managing this portfolio of that's a crazy word, but this portfolio of partnerships across inside of Microsoft, outside of Microsoft, that is a huge part of what you do and a huge value that you bring. But there's two other areas too that I'd like to hit on as well that are just kind of critical to your role on the team. One of those is thinking about strategy, right? Thinking about not just what are we doing, but what should we be doing? And that's a really interesting thing that I have the privilege of working with you on very, very closely. Most weeks we're talking about what are the most important things that people are asking? What are the trends that are coming that people aren't seeing? And thinking about, hey, where is 3D not even exist yet, but maybe there's an opportunity for it to be where there's big web presence, and just looking at things from that lens. You're a huge, huge part of forcing us to think through different lenses than we commonly do, which has been a superpower of yours. So that's one. I'm super, super glad that you do that for us. And then the other one, though not quite as sexy in nature, is critically important as well, is you keep us organized.
And there is a lot of work, gosh, there is a lot of work.
Yeah, in a team that is as passionate as we are and maintains a bug first, I think that's a huge thing. Is we will set aside all work to go chase a bug when it comes up. Today was a great example, right, David? We had a bug come up and everybody paused their work to go figure out what it was. In that world with that kind of hyper flexibility, it's a huge challenge to organize and keep the engineering into a rhythm. And you help us do that with a degree of excellence that I haven't encountered before. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Honestly, it's not hard at all, because I think, again, because of the passion, I don't have to fight people who don't want, right? Everybody wants to do the best. We may not agree on some things, right, which is good, but nobody just wants something because they want it, right? So there is not like the ego of just being right. So sometimes we push a little bit, but then when we back down, it's totally fine. I think that's also very healthy. And again, I was lucky, and I think it just showed the best side, right, of that we all have in us. So I think this is good. So I'm just here to put this cadence, this rhythm, make sure we have those conversations. Again, because the framework is used by developer and is done by developers, most of the people in the team come up with the new features that we should do. So I'm just helping, making sure we prioritize them correctly, making sure that, oh, maybe there is this one that we talked about it last time, but we forgot about it, and it's good to, put it, at the top right now. So it's really helping and facilitating all this. So it's I'm learning on the way too, which is again very cool. But yeah, it's a good. I think it's a very interesting way to develop a product where everybody is empowered, everybody is responsible, everybody is willing, and then we all do stuff wrong and things like this, but then we correct right on the way. So it's pretty cool.
I absolutely love it. Your contribution to our morning routine is to keep us organized, and mine is dad jokes. It's a good combination.
Yeah, I think
Thomas is also responsible for our communication upward, right? Because we got money from Microsoft, it's not free. So Microsoft has a high on top of that. Yep. And Thomas is definitely a key player of making sure we communicate correctly, respectfully, fairly. And so Microsoft understand why they need to continue funding this project, right? It's part of our DNA.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Okay, Thomas, now for the most difficult part of our podcast episode.
The surprise question.
There's actually two. I came up with another one. The two questions you know nothing about.
Sure.
Question number one, coming at you with a complete surprise, is in the next 3 years, what is it that you think and want to have happen in the 3D industry? Based on what you see and what you'd like to see, what does 3 years from now look like holistically? Very high.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Because we're gonna record it, and in 3 years we're gonna make fun of you.
We'll come back to you in 3 years.
Oh, my projections, and then see, I was right, and I didn't know. I think we're at an inception point right now where we have the 3 worlds of animation, game, and real time that are all merging together, right? Because of the power of that is available on the client, right? So things become more and more realistic, but they're not realistic enough yet on the web. So I'm hoping that within the next 3 years, we get much closer to maybe not AAA game, on the web, but closer to very high quality rendering experience even more on the web. So something cool. Something else is interconnection of AI and 3D. It's like metaverse and all these things, right? So we all see this science fiction movie, and they have they go in the future, but there is never AI in those science fiction movie, or just like a robot, a little smart. But then for sure will be much more than this, right? So in 3 years,
our future will not be the one in science fiction for sure.
Yes, we have no idea. And then these little things where we're curious to see, right? Those are scared, but it's not this in 3 years, but helping the creation. One of the big thing I understood is that today still how to create 3D objects. It takes time, it takes a lot of expertise to be able to more easily capture and create 3Ds. We'll see all the nerve and Gaussian splat and next evolution. If we can crack this over the next 3 years, it'd be a revolution, because suddenly it'd be so easily to build this thing that much more people, including not into the core 3D world, will adapt and find usage, because we just build a technology, but it needs the broad adoption to come up real cool usage, right? So yeah, those are some of the 2 things that just come in
nice
mind.
Answer. Very nice answer.
Quite good. Yeah, it's quite good for being put on the spot. That's quite good. I'm impressed by that. Yeah, quick on your feet. Next one, rapid fire. What's the best Christmas gift? Because hey, it's holiday time right now. What is the best Christmas gift you have ever given someone?
I don't know this one.
You were so good on your feet last time.
Best Christmas gift. Maybe a surprise, right? Becoming to a Christmas as a surprise, because we live abroad, right? I live abroad compared to my family and things like this. So I think this can be a very good surprise. The gift of
like when you show up
showing
and don't tell
up.
them.
Yes. I think that'd be
knock, knock.
Cool.
I'm here.
Yes,
that's true.
I did this the other way, coming to the US once, and it was just for one weekend. And the guy at the border said, "Why are you coming for a weekend? It's very suspicious. You just have a backpack. And you're coming in 2 days. You're living in 2 days. What is this?" But he goes, "Okay, let me."
That's good. That's good. Oh, that's good. So you surprise relatives by basically just saying on their door, knock, knock, we're here. I like
Yes.
that. That's
Yeah.
good. That's
Cool.
amazing. Well, I think that's all the time we got for today. Thomas, on behalf of the entire community, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do inside of Microsoft, for outside of Microsoft, for helping keep this massive technology platform organized and also helping give it a future, because that's a huge part of what you do.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's I'm really just happy to be there, and be part of this community. So it's just a small little ant in all this world. So it's very cool.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the team, for sure. All right, everyone, we'll call that a podcast. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you haven't had a chance to do so, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. And happy holidays to everybody. We'll see you all soon.
All right,
bye, guys.
See you soon.